Hello everybody. Well, I just wanted to take some time to show you guys who get into collecting old vintage reels. This is something that Shimano came out with back in the 80s. It's called a Shimano Bantam Beastmaster BBM VR. Actually, not bad for an 80s reel. I mean, it came with 4 ball bearings in it, magnetic cast control, as you can see right there. What's unique about this one is a 2-speed reel, which it's got this shifter here that you can flick this way forward for a 4.1 ratio and up for a 6:1 ratio. It also has a flipping switch right here that you can turn on and off. I used to use this a lot when I was in Texas, but the way a flipping switch works is you turn this on, and when you push the spool release, it comes back up. So that way, when you're flipping in the bushes with a jig or a worm or something, you can push on this, it'll release the spool, and the moment you let it go, it'll lock it locks back up. But that was its primary function, which is kind of neat because you don't see this feature too often anymore. I think Quantum still has it on their reels, but that's something that was kind of a big change. It kind of changed the game for a lot of the reels in the 80s, and then all of a sudden everybody else started to follow suit. But this is a really neat reel if you can ever get your hands on one. I mean, it still reels in really smooth. I take it out every now and again when I want to go cast with it and just do some fishing with it, but I usually kind of keep it here in the house and put it away. I mean, it's kind of a collector's, and it's in fairly decent shape. I think the last one I saw sold for over 150 bucks. That was in really good shape. It does. You can take the spool off. I mean, yeah, you can remove the spool and everything, but back in those days, they weren't really meant to do that all the time. You got to take all these screws off, right? All these screws off right here, and then you can pull it out, and then the spool will come out. When you put your line in, it actually had this where you could open the cover. It'll be easier to access the level wind, and then you can run your line through there and just close that up like that. But it's just really neat. Really neat little reel. I mean, there is another company which I do have one. It's an Abu Garcia XLT style reel. Came out in the late 80s or maybe early 90s, but it too had a 2-speed function on it. Also a little bit different than this, but they call theirs a auto shift mechanism. When I get some time, I'll try to post a video up on it and show you how it works. But yeah, this one right here, it's just it's got the drag star, typical tension on a disc on the inside where the clutch material's at. But yeah, and here's your this is your spool control, or they call it the cast control, but you can tighten it. It's the tension knob for the spool, so you can adjust it for whatever conditions you're going to be at. If it's really windy, you might want to tighten it up. On a nice calm day, you probably let it loose. I've been using these for years, and it takes practice. Everybody knows that you can't just come grab one of these and just expect to know how to throw it, and you'll have a bee's nest in no time. But that was like one of the neatest features of this reel, and it definitely was a big change, a game changer for Shimano. I mean, this is when they were really trying to come up with a bunch of different ideas and everything, and having the best of both worlds. That 2-speed shifter is pretty neat. it kind of turns it into a winch at 4-to-1. You know, instead of having like what 5 different reels. You know, nowadays nobody has this function. It'd be kind of cool to see it come back, but I think this is one of the big ones right here that a lot of people look for. You know, the only bad thing is when you take it apart to service it, some people have a tendency to mess something up on the inside. I've already I've gotten good at taking them apart and servicing them, but I've taken this one apart a few times already. But I mean, and I actually upgraded the ball bearings in there. I went to a ceramic style bearings, and I found them online and changed them all out. But man, this thing is really fun to use. Definitely takes me back from the old days, you know, when I first started fishing and everything. But really neat. The cast control, it is a magnetic brake. It still works. But I mean, that is something that, you know, you still see now on today's reels. Of course, today, you know, they're a lot more precise. But you know what? The cool thing is this one's actually made in Japan. It ain't like all that other stuff you get made in China, which is just, I mean, we all know how China is when it comes to manufacturing stuff. I mean, they've gotten better, but this doesn't, I mean, don't even compare. I mean, I don't know when people used to bitch about things being made in Japan, but damn, I mean, I've had it. This thing is from the 80s, and look how well it's held up. And I mean, like I said, I use it time to time, but I kind of quit using it just because of the fact that I knew it was starting to become a collector's item, and they're becoming harder to find. It's really like I said, just really fun to use. But that's it. Shimano Bantam Beastmaster, a 2-speed shifter. Hope you liked the